What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Nerdwide podcast, the series finale of Gotham Knights and season finale of Superman and Lois. But before we get into that, this is the Nerdwide podcast, episode 119. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Chris Rivers. Chris, it's finally here. The finale for Gotham Knights. We no longer have to talk about Turner anymore after tonight's episode, because they were definitely setting some things up which was going to keep Turner in the limelight, and glad we're not doing it anymore.
Right.
So, how's your week
definitely been all right. We got out of overtime this week, so now I'm in the middle of a 4-day weekend. So,
isn't that nice? Just
yeah,
that must be nice. I got to go to work tomorrow, and then I'm off on Tuesday. But
they've already told us we'll probably have overtime this week.
Oh, of course. Yeah, why would you have time off if you're not going to do overtime to make up for those numbers? Yeah, corporations. That's just always how they work, and it's just the dumbest thing.
Yeah,
it's all about the money.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Had a day at the pool. Some alcoholic beverages, so I'm coming down off of that, so I'm feeling pretty good. I've got Fury the Ferocious here with me, because we talk about his namesake on these couple of episodes.
He's like, now that you want me to come over there,
now that you want me in the camera, we're not going to do it. The whole pre-show, he was all up in the business, but now he just don't want to be a part of it. But quick housekeeping for you all. We all hope you enjoy your 4th of July week coming up and your holiday. Make sure you stay safe. Make sure you keep all of your fingers coming up, because I've seen some injuries working in the nursing world, and just make sure you keep your fingers. Quick housekeeping though, don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating, whatever podcasting service you use. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, let us know what's wrong down in the comments below. Let us know we can improve upon. If there's something broken, let us know down there. If we don't know it's broke, we can't fix it, so you gotta let us know here. If you want to do more, you can always go to patreon.com/nerdwide. 3 different tiers for 3 different monetary values. A whole bunch of different goodies for each tier there for a monthly subscription. We would greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it if you did that as well. But if not, your subscription and your likes are much appreciated as well. But Chris, TV-wise, have you been watching anything different than our shows this week?
No, not really.
I'm in the same boat. We finished Love is Blind season 4 this weekend. But other than that, nothing out of the ordinary for us. So it was okay. Well, The Bachelorette started back up. I mean, it's okay. A couple of good group of guys there. It's gonna be a boring season. So
I think they're all boring seasons.
Well, there's some fun ones. Okay, there's some fun ones. This one just looks boring. Like they always do, like the first night, and then they do this season on, and this one just doesn't look that good. I'm like, okay, I really don't care about The Bachelorette either this season. I didn't like her in The Bachelor, so it's just, you gotta do what you gotta do. But listen, Superman and Lois, our last Superman and Lois spoilers for the year, which they usually comes back, April?
I think it's going to be a summer show this next year, isn't it?
Oh God, we gotta wait a whole lot longer for this. We gotta wait a whole year, Chris, for Superman and Lois.
I think so.
Come on, all right.
For 10 episodes.
Yeah, just for 10 episodes with everybody be cut out of it, which they were very heavy on all the characters going to be cut out this episode. I don't think they knew that was going to be the case. But I'm like, hindsight's 2020.
Development.
Yeah. So, Superman and Lois, Season 3 finale, Episode 13, titled What Kills You Only Makes You Stronger, directed by Suds Sutherland. We're going back to Fugitives.com by Siddharthi Das for the recap and review. So this is full-on spoilers for the finale for Superman and Lois. A month has passed since the last episode and since Lex was released from prison, and despite his threat about consequences, the world hasn't heard anything from him since. The finale begins with Lois' monologue, keeping in sync with most of the former episodes as she speculates whether Lex has changed in the course of 17 years. In the montage video, we see folks from Smallville being busy with their lives. John resumes his fireman drills with Kyle. Jordan is still bitter for how things turned up between him and Sarah. The budding romance between John Henry and Lana is making its presence felt. And Sam is turning over a new leaf in his life as he meets Gretchen through the elder date app Jordan basically coerced him to use. Lois's treatment has almost reached the end and she's prepared to take the next step in her life. At the Kent household, Sam arrives to discuss the Lex situation, and Lois shares her suspicion about the megalomaniac villain is only taking a step back into preparation to lunge at his target, which Lois is herself, all the more ferociously. Both Clark and Sam assure her that they won't let Lex succeed in his plans in any way. The twins get ready to organize the meteor shower watch on Smallville Main Street for the next day, and through the conversation it becomes clear that Clark isn't willing to let Jordan resume his superhero career just yet. This whole meteor shower thing, I could have swore we were getting some sort of crazy Krypton villain. Because, the last time we had a meteor shower, who came and appeared other than Clark Kent himself. So, I just thought that's what we were going to get.
Yeah, it's weird because they kind of built it up a little bit, but then they forgot all about it.
Well, it was a cool set piece because during the fight at the end of this episode, you see meteor streaking by. I thought that was really cool. A nice little touch.
Yeah.
As the scene moves to Kyle's apartment, Chrissy shares news of her pregnancy, who is elated and surprised at the same time as Kyle, and later shares the news with his ex-wife Lana and their 2 daughters as well. It's good to see that Kyle's family warms up to the news of Kyle and Chrissy having a child, and Lana even states she is looking to spoil the baby as much as she wishes by showering her with love and care, which was really weird to me. Lana knows that she needs to move on with her life as well, and later that day she gets asked for a dinner date by John Henry himself. So
yeah,
this pregnancy came out of left field for me, because we've got a child that's not in the show anymore, anyways, which was in this episode for Sophie for some reason, but whatever.
I'm gonna be real curious to see when they do come back how they write these characters out, because it's gonna be so long that you would think, well, with the fight at the end, you'd think they'd pick up where they left off.
Do you think they've probably already filmed that and they're just the kind of continuities? Maybe. I would assume so if I was a director and producer, because you can't just say, okay, all right, we're done. middle of the fight, all right, we're done. We'll come back in a year. So I wonder how that works.
I don't know, but maybe we'll see the end of the fight, then a time jump.
Right.
And they'll say, oh, all this has gone on, and they've moved, and these people have moved. But
I said, forget it. Main Street has been attacked too many times. We're not doing it anymore. We're out. So Sarah's going to be mayor somewhere. Lana's going to be mayor somewhere else.
Yeah.
Sam drops by the Irons household to let them know that John and Natalie's designs have caught the attention of the DoD, so much so they're offering the duo to permanently settle in Metropolis and admit Natalie to DoD Academy and start a new life there by working full-time. John Henry shares the news of Lana during their dinner date, and the duo finally have a heart-to-heart about their feelings for each other, which leads to a more intimate affair after dinner. Which I was like, all right, good for you two. We've had this chemistry going the whole last half of the season, and
didn't even wait to get home.
No, to be fair, they were moving at the end of the week, so you got to get in where you fit in. You know what I mean? The Kent family discusses about their upcoming trip to the Smallville diner, and Lois and Clark notice Jordan being mean to Sarah, which he was a dick. Like he was a horrible dude just then. But it's a whole teenager love story, so I kind of get it. Clark later confronts him about this matter. He says to his son that feeling dejected himself is no excuse to make others feeling miserable as well, which leads to Jordan talking out Sarah and apologizing to her with an awkward handshake. So
that was weird.
Yeah, got that wrapped up. But that was very. He stuck his hand out. She was like, all right. So no George this episode, if you noticed. No George. George Jr. or whatever his name is at this point.
Yeah, he's happily wasn't there.
Yeah, thank God. Same thing with Turner. Just glad he was not in that episode. With her arduous battle with cancer almost over, Lois is mentally prepared to bring intimacy into their conjugal relationship once again. And as she states that to Clark, the duo fly off to Italy at Tal Rose Villa and have intimate affairs as well. It was important for Lois that after the double mastectomy, she was feeling insecure about her body. With Clark's love and toward her remaining all the same, Lois regained some form of confidence. Ecstatic about their rejuvenated love life, the duo even decides to spend holidays in Italy with the boys, who are happy about the sudden international vacation, but are sure about the fact that their parents are secretly bribing them for something different. At the Gazette office, Christy shares the good news of her pregnancy with Clark and Lois, but Clark gets distracted. Later, upon questioning, he shares with Lois that Judge Reagan, who was under Mayhem's payroll earlier, whom Lois saved from committing suicide by encouragement, which I guess that was the beginning of the season, has just been murdered at Metropolis. I guess I didn't even put that two and two together. Flying off to the city, Clark and Lois understand that Luthor has slowly started to exact his revenge on those whom he deems guilty of his unjust incarceration. Judge Reagan was first on the list, and it's only a matter of time, so he starts hunting Lois. At Smallville, Sam brings Gretchen to meet his grandchildren. Later, Gretchen pulls Sam into a private space only to tase him, and it turns out she was Luthor's associate all along. Getting close to Sam was only employed to deliver him to Luthor. Did you call this as well?
Obvious.
Thank you. Just double checking that was very obvious. Like, I mean, come on. They really could have built her in, I feel like, over the season, and then to be on the payroll right at the end. Like, they could have done that differently for me.
Yeah, because we saw him with somebody 6 episodes ago.
Right.
Something like that.
When he initially signed up on the app.
Right. It could have been her.
Right. But I don't know, it was a weird decision. The scene shifts to the ending of the previous episode a month ago from the present timeline, where Luthor and his thugs were attacked by Bizarro at the hideout of Bruno. Lex got his hands on the ex-kryptonite rifle and shot him to death, only to see him resurrected on his own. Bruno's experiments must have done a number on Bizarro and turned him into something near undead. Luthor hits upon a plan to use the advantage and, throughout 1 month, holds Bizarro captive and keeps killing him again and again. This results in his mutation to an abomination, an unkillable one at that. Lex essentially created... Yes. Oh, God, it was so good. Like, when they never said his name, which I imagine they will in Season 4 premiere. But when they said he kept growing, I was like, are they building on Doomsday? And then they show it right there on the farm. I was like, oh, yeah. And it was really well done on top of that. Lex essentially created a version of the iconic supervillain Doomsday, which might seem reminiscent of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, where Lex similarly created Doomsday by combining his and deceased General Zod's DNA. However, in this iteration, the comics' origin of Doomsday is respected as well. In the comics, Doomsday was bred to be an unstoppable killing machine. He was killed in every possible way and resurrected as many times as necessary to do so. It's also nice of them to pay a little homage to it. And we were worried about the whole Lex being the main villain in 2 episodes. But I like the way they did this. It wasn't so much Lex being the villain as much as it was Doomsday. And if you think about it, we've had Bizarro kind of behind the scenes for half of a season. So yeah. I feel like it worked here. I was really, with last episode we both weren't very high on, and I was kind of like, don't know how we're going to do this, but I like where we went with it. Still could have been, I don't know, the premiere episode, I think, of season 4, but or at least episode 2, and like keep those ratings high and keep them going. But back in the present time, after learning that Sam hasn't been found, Clark goes to space in his Superman attire to listen for possible hints and lessons to Lex approaching the Kent farm. Clark immediately flies down. The two iconic rivals face each other. Clark asks Lex about Sam's whereabouts, neglecting that Lex summons Doomsday using his signal transmitter. Jumping right on top of Kent's farm and destroying the barn, Doomsday wastes no time in being Superman to a pulp. The duo landed a meteor shower watch gathering again on Main Street. Everything happens on Main Street in Smallville. I would move. I wouldn't listen. If I was the citizens of Smallville, I would not go to any Main Street attraction. I don't care what's going on. Farmers market, movie premiere, everything happens, and I would refuse to go to do anything there. Listen, it doesn't really talk about in this review. I liked having Coach Gaines back and being a punk to Jonathan, like, because that was from the previous season, and to have that continuity, it was I felt like it was well placed, and again, having the same actress, Coach Gaines, as well, was very funny, and like how he was thanking everybody. He says, oh, I want to thank one individual who's been helping out this whole thing, has really done a real good job. Something like, I think it was Will or something was his name. And Jonathan's like, yeah, that sounds about right. It was just very, very, I don't know, Smallville-y, and I loved it. I like the way they did that.
It would have been funny if he'd said something to Jonathan like, I don't care how much you say you've changed.
Right. That would be
You're
great.
you're always going to be the kid that ruined my best season.
That would be a really good, little good moment there. Let's see. The duo landed the meteor shower while watch gathering, and as John, Natalie, and Jordan consider joining it to help using their abilities, Clark forbids them from doing so. Very good scene. I like this part. He knows that this isn't another fight and might very well turn out to be a battle to the death, and anyone else joining will only increase the risk of casualties. I don't think it was that as much as it giving their secret identity away. We've had the whole deal with Jordan, and I think he was putting his hand back mainly for them, saying, "Hey, well, I've got this. Just kind of stay back." But it was very obvious though when the Henry Iron family and the Clark and everybody stood up and came into the fight instead of running backwards. I would have, if I was in that town, I'm like, oh, there's something going on here. There's something here, but that's
Yeah.
just me. The battle between the two powerhouses reaches Metropolis, where Clark uses his freeze breath to stupefy the monstrosity and impales him on the tower. However, as he descends to calm the alarmed citizens, he realizes the abomination is resurrected on his own. Soundgarden's Blow Up the Outside World starts playing in the background as Doomsday starts pummeling down Superman through the subway, turning him almost unconscious and flies off with him into space. Very well done and very good music choice, I feel like, because
Yeah.
something, what did it say? The something about death or coming back to life and stuff like that was the
Hmm.
song. And it was very, very well done. I felt like the pacing was great. The CGI was great in a lot of this. But there were some there were little ones like you could criticize, but for most of it, it was wonderful, and I really enjoyed the Doomsday design that they had here.
Yeah, definitely. It was I don't know if this is how they meant it to be. It's how I took it to be. That when Superman lands among the people after he's impaled Doomsday on the top of that tower, I felt like it was the people. Obviously, they're shocked at this battle going on, but Superman just killed somebody,
Right, you just
and
split him in half, pretty
and
much.
and, and that's what he doesn't do that.
He didn't kill.
And although I'm sitting there thinking, knowing it's Doomsday, I'm like, now that you got him on there, just rip his body in half, and that'll probably do it.
Right, or throw him in the sun. Do something with him other than just impaling him on the highest tower in Metropolis and just
Right.
flying down, just looking up at him. Come on. Yeah,
But
come on.
I felt like that was what initially had people so shocked. It's
No.
like, oh, Superman just killed somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and then he comes back to life, and they're like, oh,
Oh, yeah, never mind. We're out. We're running out of here. Let's see. Jordan states that he isn't able to hear his father's heartbeat anymore, and a desperate, anxious Lois calls Clark's name. Hearing that faint voice from space, a nearly lifeless Superman regains his strength, loosens Doomsday's hold, and punches him to the moon. As the finale ends, the two juggernauts are seen rushing towards each other on the surface of the moon, while the Earth glimmers in the background, leaving the symbol of Hope's fate in question.
hmm,
Wonderful, wonderful ending. I felt like I knew there was gonna be a cliffhanger. I saw some people on the internet talking about it, saying it was a pretty decent cliffhanger coming up. I didn't realize it was gonna be that good. Like that was almost from I'm pretty sure that's from a comic cover of the two forces going in to fight each other with the Earth in the background on the moon. And
maybe.
man, yeah, I know we were worried about the season ending off strong. I still feel like this is the best season that Superman and Lois has had, and I'm curious to see what happens next year with season four, which is potentially the last season, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to follow through completely with the death of Superman storyline. Like, will they have Doomsday kill him early in season four, only to have Superman return at the end and
Right.
ultimately defeat Doomsday and Luthor? Or,
I have a full Superboy story with the Jordan taking the mantle of Superboy, and that's not actually a bad idea though. You know, but what
yeah,
do we know?
not very much, apparently.
Oh man, I'm just excited for it to come back. I've really enjoyed this season. I can't wait to watch it again, which I'm sure I will once I get it on Blu-ray and digital. I need to keep up with that and see when it comes out because that's I've got the first two. Got to complete the collection at this point now. So, But something that's never going to be complete is Gotham Knights. Series
Yay!
finale, episode 13, titled Night of the Owls, directed by Gregory Smith. We're going back to fugitives.com by Siddharthi Das for the final recap. The episode begins with the Gotham Knights behind bars being questioned by Dr. Chase Meridian and Commissioner Soto, and despite their pleading their innocence multiple times, what's the most sidebar says me, cringy. There was a lot this episode I hated. A lot that I liked, but a lot that I hated during this. Specifically this part. Like, it was very just, I did not appreciate it at all.
The best, before you get further in, the best parts of the episode for me were the couple of Harvey Duella scenes.
Yes, I told Jamie because she watched some of it with me, and I said no, she watched the whole episode. I said they're the best actors on the whole show. These two right here, and they put them right together at the end. And even then, some of their scenes together were not the best. Like, it was very well. I think it was the direction of it, because like it was just very, like, Duella's wig was getting up to me, and I don't know, it's just kind of weird for me. But oof, what episode we gotta get through here? Let's see. Their situation of being incriminated by a secret cabal of Gotham's elite who use undead assassins named Talons as operatives sounds too fantastical for the authorities to believe. So far, the blame for the deaths of Mayor Cressida Clark, but the entire court and Bruce Wayne has been neatly fabricated by the court to make the fugitives seem like the perpetrators. Carrie's mother, a concerned Dr. Kelly, goes to the GCPD to see her daughter. During the conversation between Turner and Soto, Turner's biological parents are mentioned, and Turner, who previously came to know that Bruce considered himself responsible for the Turner's birth parents' death, asks whether she helped Batman cover up the crime. The idea of Bruce being the killer of his parents was implanted in Turner's mind by the court, which is later solidified by Bruce's cryptic journal notes that has led Turner to momentarily losing his faith in their cause. The commissioner states that contrary to what he believes, Turner's birth parents were ruthless assassins for hire who had killed innocent people their whole lives, who were employed by a certain master manhunter named Henry Ducard to kill Batman, and in the process got themselves killed by accident. The revelation helps Turner see the situation in a new light. In his mind, he pledges to fight for his father's cause of justice. Bruce never let Turner learn about his parents' identities to save him the grief, and he believes where someone comes from never marks their identity, which is what they choose to do does. During the final moments of the last episode, Rebecca unleashed her talons, directing the Electrum-induced undead owl motive assassins to kill the Knights while they were in custody. As the camera pans outside of GCPD, the Talons are seen perched on rooftops, waiting to strike at any moment. A crude, evil subversion of the Dark Knight's rooftop brooding sessions, which were used to symbolize the security of the city. I thought it was a cool shot when we pan back out and like all four of them are standing up there getting their weapons ready. I thought it was really cool. In the previous episode, we saw Harvey captured by Rebecca Lincoln when he didn't agree to accept her offer to spend his life with the ruthless leader of the court. He finds himself bound to the secretive 13th floor of the Wayne Tower, where he was investigating, where he learns about Rebecca himself being near immortal, plaguing Gotham throughout the centuries by extending her life for hundreds of years. Let's see. After her final offer to join is rejected by Harvey, Rebecca reveals her wish to bring out Harvey's nefarious, sadistic other half, the villainous persona, to the forefront. To blackmail Harvey into doing so, Rebecca brings out Duella, his daughter. As it turns out, Jane has sold her to the court in exchange for a fortune. Duella is tied to a phone-activated bomb, the disarm code, which will be given only to Harvey from Rebecca's command. As Rebecca leaves, Harvey takes the chance to apologize to his daughter for the abandonment, the loss of childhood, and, in general, every trouble she had to go through until her adulthood. Harv's identity dysmorphia caused his other half to have a relationship with the maniacal villain Jane Doe, and for the longest period, Harvey was unaware of Duella's existence. Now, finally having the chance to say his bit, Harvey tries to make amends to his daughter and assures her that her father will always stay by her side and be there for her. I thought that was a nice touching scene here.
Yeah.
At the GCPD, the Talons attack and start massacring the force, and soon Commissioner Soto finds her officers outnumbered and outmatched. Realizing the group of fugitives has been telling the truth all along, she agrees to release them to help in their fight against the Talons. The Knights ask for access to the Batman's armor confiscated at the very beginning of the season by GCPD, which would not still be there, by the way. And wielding the gadgets, they make a glorious entry into the fight. With the help of the Knights, the GCPD manages to push the Talons' retreat, but during their battle, Dr. Kelly gets stabbed. Carrie and Brody rush to Gotham State Hospital to admit her while the group investigates the next part of Rebecca's plan.
I will say this.
Go ahead.
There are two really, really good moments during that situation in the squad room. One is that Cullen saves the desk sergeant.
Mm-hmm. With like the Nightwing batons.
Yeah.
And I was like,
He saves his life. So proving that, I mean, he's better than pretty much any cop on the force.
Right.
And Carrie's mom gets to see her in action before she's stabbed.
Right through the spine. Like, I was like, oh, yeah, she's dead.
You can see kind of this moment of realization, like, oh,
she really is
out there.
Yeah, she really is doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Dr. Kelly affirms her faith in her daughter's career as Batman's protege, Robin, and despite being mortally injured herself, asks Carrie to assist her team in saving the city. Duella calls the team and lets them know about the situation. A hilarious scene, by the way, of her just, oh, you could call out on it. And she calls them, and they were like, Duella, we're a little busy. That's very teenagery. I enjoyed that. Turns out that along with the 13th floor of Wayne Tower, 5 other major secretive floors designed by Alan Wayne have been rigged by Rebecca's court operatives, and the prime controller of them is linked with the Duella Harvey's bomb, which, if disarmed, will blow up the other ones, thereby making Duella take the fall for the court. But if the timer on the prime bomb runs out and it detonates, the other buildings will remain unharmed. Duella's traumatic past at Arkham, surviving against the worst Gotham has to offer, has made her highly individualistic, which has been perceivable in most of her past actions. After the communication with Duella is over, the Knights consider that in question between Duella and hundreds of other Gothamites, the latter should be prioritized. But Turner argues against letting someone's past define them, whether they deserve saving or not. This is a lesson he relearned recently after his adoptive father Bruce's actions were revealed to him by Commissioner Soto. So, had to come back into it. This whole, like, they would have run out of time a long time ago, if we're going to be honest. But, that's how most of the shows do.
I did like that they tried to sync it up,
right?
Because at the very beginning, when they first show the bomb, it goes to 60 minutes. It's like, okay, they're trying to do a 24 type thing here, where it's all in real time.
Well, they tried. They had the whole conversation with all of them. They're like, oh, we should kill Duella. Let's kill Duella off. It's one versus thousands. And I'm like, that's not a very good hero mentality, guys. But we're still learning.
No, but if those are your two options, you save the most people.
Right.
You can say.
And so knowing that Harvey Dent is Two-Face and seeing this bomb hooked up in this tower to Harvey, were you reminiscent of The Dark Knight as much as I was? Because I was like, oh, they are really like on the nose putting this on here.
Because there it was just the explosion in the warehouse, right?
Right. Because his face was in the gas and it lit on fire and everything.
He had gone after Rachel.
So. And it might have been just like a little nod. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, just a nod to the Dark Knight series. With making man, he looked great. We'll get there. So at the Wayne Tower, Harvey assesses the predicament and agrees to bring out his nefarious persona. Before triggering his other side, he urges his daughter Duella to seek a way to cure him if the unthinkable happens, i.e., the other half gains complete control, and Duella tearfully agrees. Harvey's other half emerges, and as per the promise, Rebecca provides a disarming key to the phone. However, Duella has come a long way since parting ways with the Knights, and after betrayals from family and muddling through conspiracy, she has a heroic change of heart and refuses to disarm the bomb. Despite the city trampling over her throughout her entire lifetime, inspired by Turner and the other Knight spirits, she's willing to save it no matter the cost. As per her wish, Rebecca has gotten the other half of Harvey, but she might have bargained for more than she can handle, as the evil other half only seeks to increase his own existence gain, and Duella's timely forewarning about Rebecca eventually betraying him makes the persona become unhinged. As Harvey is freed, he attacks Rebecca and throws a bottle of acid in his face, melting one half of it, thereby turning him into the iconic Two-Face. A court operative takes him away, but Two-Face murders him in the elevator and escapes. Very bloody episode. I really enjoyed it. But man, Two-Face looked great during this.
He did.
And
especially
at the
end.
So good. Oh, and when he was talking to what's her name?
when he was talking to Jane Doe at
Yes.
the end, you get a real good look. He's talking, so you get
Mm-hmm.
to see the mouth move and everything. Phenomenal.
Yeah, they did a good job. I hate. I'm with Mr. Collins. He really wanted to explore this villain side, but the show went on that great, man. It's unfortunately just was not that good. So. Later, Two-Face arrives at Jane's condo and punishes her for selling their daughter out to the court by gunning her down. The second season could have highlighted Two-Face as an antagonist of the Knights and Duella's effort to bring her father back, but with the series canceled after the very first season, we will never get to see that. Well, you know. All right. Stephanie and Harper managed to reverse engineer the bomb so that disarming the prime bomb will blow it up, but the rest of the locations will be spared. Colin takes Sergeant Aponi's help, who he had fooled from the entire season, to clear out the Wayne Tower to control the damage and so that civilians don't get caught in the explosion. Turner and Cove arrive at Wayne Tower to save Duella and ambush Rebecca, whom her own son Brody injects with a high dose of electrum. Man, he was not playing around. Another bad actor that shouldn't really been. Anyways, which causes rapid regeneration of her cells due to radiation poisoning. Disarming Duella's bomb, the team saves her, but has limited time to escape from Wayne Tower before it explodes. Carrie brings along the last tiny dose of electrum, which could save her mother's life. However, as the team rushes towards the exit, Turner's memories of the path he has chosen to honor his adoptive father, Bruce, flashes from his mind from the beginning of the season all the way to where we are now. And he stays behind to take all the journals of Bruce to learn more about him and his crime-fighting career. Eventually, all the Talons surround him, and grievously injured Rebecca leads them to attack Turner. However, just before they deal the final blow, a troop of co-op militants kill all the Talons along with Rebecca using specialized rounds and rescues Turner. Moments later, we see the Wayne Tower collapse in the explosion, and the Knights, who managed to get outside, watch in terror, considering Turner to be unable to have made it out alive. The next day, but here we go. The next day, the fugitives have managed to clear their names and are being hailed as the heroes who saved the town. Dr. Kelly survived thanks to the dose of electrum injected by Carrie. The team mourns the absence of Turner, and it is Duella who, in order to honor Turner's memory, inspires the team to continue the fight as the Gotham Knights. Who would have thought? In the epilogue, it is shown that Turner has been rescued by the operatives of Henry Ducard, who states that he is willing to teach Turner like he taught Bruce, and with the rest of the world considering him to be dead, it's beneficial for the plans he has for him as well. In the comics, Henry Ducard is a legendary French manhunter and one of Bruce's many teachers whom Bruce approached to gain knowledge of crime fighting. Bruce had learned a number of investigative tricks and ways to hunt down criminals, but wasn't willing to delve into the ulterior motives of his master, which involves assassination and mercenary business, which led to the duo and the conflict course later in the comics. So.
Yeah, in the Nolan trilogy, Ducard's played by Liam Neeson, who, you know, we then believe is
Raish. Yeah.
Raish
Rollins. It depends part of the country you're from at this point.
Yeah, I really wish they were bringing it back, man. Just because I think what they could do is they could recast Turner.
Yes.
They could keep him gone all year and have someone suddenly start to appear.
We got like a bigger, buffer dude, and
well, let's go for the acting chops first, right?
Yeah, you know, that too.
But I think that they could have done something like that and then set up his return for a season 3, while you have the Knights getting used
dealing
to
with
Gotham, and
and dealing
Duella
with
trying to help Harvey. But they canceled it, so
so now we'll never know, honestly. And
I would like to have seen Carrie's mom's reaction to finding out how she was saved.
Yeah, they were definitely setting that up too.
Yeah,
because she was supposed to be dead, and this, and she mentioned again, I don't know everything. I understand that as a nurse, but anytime you do medical stuff on a show, I always pay attention to. They mentioned a drug, and I was like, I have never heard that drug before, nor would I know what they're, because it's like, oh, you know, if they're using this, it's really the good stuff. It's not a chance of survival. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They just use when you're on your septic, you use antibiotics and get your fluids and stuff like that. You're you know, but anyways, that's just personally. So, but Chris, we have finally said farewell to the Gotham Knights, and we will never see another episode, unfortunately. Yeah. I'm curious to see if the writers will come out and write what they had planned for, because they can now. It's
Yeah.
anyone's property. Uh, I, I'll try and keep my eye on that so we could talk about it on the show if they ever do come out and say anything. But something that is secret, that is getting brought to the light. Secret Invasion Episode 2, titled Promises, and every episode is directed by Ali Salem for the show. We're going back to the reviewgeek.com by Arnav Sravasva for this one.
Very good.
Episode 2, did you like that, huh? That's my Russian in there. Episode, yes, I know, Ferocious. Of course, our very own Fury here, named after Nicholas Fury, is here in the office today. If you could probably see him if you're watching, or hear him if you're listening, because he never sits still, ever. Just never sits still. Episode 2 of Secret Invasion begins with two flashbacks, one in 1995, the other in 1997. In the former, we see the Fury working with the Skrulls in deep space. This was the time when they were presumably still living in Skrullos and weren't challenged by the Kree. In 1997, we pick up after the destruction of Skrullos. The remaining Skrulls who could flee were brought to Earth by Fury. He made them a promise to find them a new home with Carol Danvers' help. All he asked in return was a promise that they would keep Earth safe. Soren, Gaia's mother, and Talos was the first one to make their pledge, and the others followed suit. We'll also learn this is when Fury was first introduced to Gravik, who lost both of his parents in the last stand against the Kree. He escaped and manned a ship all by himself to arrive at Earth. In the present day, Talos and Fury travel to Warsaw. Agent Hill's tragic death still hasn't sunk in. Fury questions Talos about the destruction of Skrullos and asks Talos if there is something he doesn't know about it. Talos reluctantly admits that there are thousands of Skrulls roaming no, there's not thousands, 1 million Skrulls roaming the Earth. He called everyone who answered out to the Emperor Drogue's colony. Fury had no idea about this and is furious with Talos for not revealing all this to him. Fury then goes to London and pays her respects to Elizabeth Maria's mother. Her body is brought for burial. Burial. God, I'll spit it out one time.
Burial?
Elizabeth blames Fury for her death and asks him to bring to justice the people behind it. Which, I mean, he said to himself, he says, "This is my fault." And she was the reason he was the reason she was there. So, I mean, fair play. Gravik's plan to use America against Russia to incite war against these two countries seems to be working. The police have taken into custody Martin Wallace, who saw in the last episode, who's actually a Skrull. The UK PM Pamela Lawton and NATO Secretary General Sergio Caspani. Fury. Hey, buddy. Hey, what are we doing? Just double check him. It's on top of the couch for some reason. Let's see. General Sergio Caspani are among those who denounced the act. It turns out that Gravik is a part of the Skrull Council that features the above emissaries. Actually, Lawton and Caspani are Skrulls in disguise as humans. The council also features Shirley, Chris Stearns, and Jack Hukbim. Gravik establishes the bottom line. He will take Earth for the Skrulls at any cost. Fury failed his promise at the beginning of the episode, and this is them holding up their end of the bargain. Listen, fair play.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't find out. It's been almost 20 years, and they haven't found them a planet to live on. So I mean, it's fair play at this point.
Yeah, makes sense.
Lawton suggests they nominate Gravik as their wartime general with total and unchecked powers. Everyone except Shirley submits to Gravik as a leader, and she is disbanded from the council. She informs Talos of the developments, who asks her to set up a meeting with Gravik, even if it means he will kill Talos when he sees him. Gravik is given a hero's welcome back at the Skrulls camp. Gaia follows Pagan as she goes to meet Dr. Rosa Dalton, who asks about the harvest, but Pagan doesn't have it. Gravik also does not seem to know its whereabouts. But what is the harvest? It's not clear as of this moment. We turn our attention to the Emergency Security Summit, where Colonel Rose is representing the U.S. I enjoyed this scene.
Yeah.
He denies all allegations that Fury and Hill were involved in the bombing. Rhodes and Fury meet shortly after the summit. The latter reports that he wasn't involved and tells him that everyone in the security detail is a spy. Rhodes mentions that he knows about the Skrulls, and Fury confirms that they are already invading Earth. Fury asks him for help, but Rhodes makes his position clear as part of a government envoy. He cannot brazenly go against the rules. Rhodes, quote-unquote, fires Fury, who promises not to relinquish his DNA and fight the war on his own. Sonya has gotten a hold of Wallace, who is actually Brogan, and interrogates him about the bombings. Olivia Colman, man, was... From watching The Crown this year and seeing her into this, two completely different but kind of the same characters was wonderful. And she intimidated me, which I did not think was possible. She tortures him into revealing Gravik is building a machine that will elevate their powers. He also tells Sonya about the married couple Daltons who are leading the science. In the meantime, Gravik has located where Brogan is being held, and Pagan leads a team to the spot. When Sonya hears the gunfire outside, she escapes to the hatch in the ground. The police show up at their safe house, which makes Gravik suspect Brogan revealed key details of the operations. He executes Brogan midway into the woods, and the episode ends with another tempting revelation. Fury is actually married to a Skrull whose name is Priscilla. A lot of crazy things in this episode, and a lot of hints of what's coming, what's going to happen. So,
we don't know if he knows that she's. We assume he knows,
right,
that she's a Skrull, but she changes before he walks in.
Mm-hmm. I think he probably knows, right? And that's like his kind of his dirty little secret because he's married to a Skrull kind of thing, and married. But so they're talking about Brogan was telling them that the Gravik is building a machine to elevate their powers. I think he's making Super Skrulls, which is a big thing in the comic books, and like they can take on the powers of certain mutants and heroes and things like that. And I'm like, oh, we're going Super Skrulls for this season, and I am. But man, that a lot happened right there at the end. The action is very, very well done. And I'm really enjoying the show. The first episode I was kind of meh on, but this episode I liked a whole lot more because we're so much more into the spy stuff of it. And I'm really enjoying that. I like spy thrillers, and put it in the MCU with some of our best spies. I'm all in. And the big drop at the end is kind of crazy. The Fury having a wife who is a Skrull is just completely new to me. So,
yeah. Question is, because we can't trust anything Marvel says,
right?
And they said this is a Nick Fury thing. They've even made a point in the show of basically saying it's all him,
right?
But if he needs to call on someone, and they allude a couple of times this episode to the Avengers,
mm-hmm.
If he needs to call on someone to help battle Super Skrulls, is this where we introduce the new or the young Avengers?
Oh God! See, this is gonna be one of those shows towards the end. I don't want to hype it up more than necessary, but what if that is the end of the season? Like we're in an all-out war now, and we has to call the new or the young Avengers into play, and that's how we kick off. And it's gonna be one of those ones that I could see myself texting you, but hey, you're gonna have to watch this as soon as possible. Like, don't wait because there's gonna be spoilers everywhere about this.
And he says in this episode the reason he doesn't want to call the Avengers in is because these Skrulls could take on their appearance.
Mm-hmm. And it's a whole new mess there, which is what happens in the comic books. Like, it's everyone who is who, and nobody knows who they say they are. They didn't even mention in this article the guy logging into the computer and seeing those three things from the movies we've had. Oh God, it's gonna bother me what they were. Easter egg Secret Invasion episode 2, because that's going to bother me.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I can't.
Let's see. I scroll down. Rhodey mentions his suit. He mentioned his suit in that conversation multiple times. Oh, it was Groot was the first one. While Gaia eavesdrops on a scientist and one of Gravik's followers, she discovers that the scientist is getting DNA from various beings for sorts of experiments. So they definitely are making Super Skrulls. When searching the computer files, one of the DNA specimens she comes across is Groot. It's not clear at this time if it's Groot from the MCU or another of his species. Frost Beast. The Frost Beast DNA is from the beings Gaia finds along the computer. The last Frost Beast on Earth was during the events of Thor: The Dark World. As the Aether caused the lines between reality to blur, we see it end up on Earth. And then Coal Obsidian. It's also listed as the last DNA sample. Of course, he was the loyal follower of Thanos. He was on the Earth for the events of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame as part of the big battles. And then, at the very end of it, we saw Extremis listed as well from Iron Man 3.
Mm.
They are definitely building super scrolls. And they didn't
Yeah,
think we would notice, Chris, but we noticed. All right.
we noticed.
So that's going to be fun. A lot of fun to think about. All right.
Speaking of fun,
Heroes and douche canoe of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the hit little segment we like to do where we go through each of our 3 episodes of our shows. We'll nominate characters from each episode of each series here, and we'll pick who is our hero of the week and our douche canoe of the week. Douche canoe just being like not just necessarily a villain, but someone who just did something just downright just dirty and douchey. And that's how we get to that moment here.
yeah, dude.
So let's start at the bottom and work our way back up. Secret Invasion. We'll do douche canoe first. We did heroes last week. We'll do douche canoe this week. Secret Invasion. You could say Gravik for killing his follower, which his follower really didn't reveal the hideout or anything. So I'm curious to see how that came to be. Other than that, not really.
Say Rhodey.
Rhodey, that's actually a good point. Yes, about to bring him back up for firing Fury.
Although he probably, knowing how things in the MCU work, he probably did it with a particular end game in mind.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably find out he and Fury talked beforehand, and it was something they agreed on. Yeah, fire me publicly so that I can go do this.
Right, and Fury broke that bodyguard's hand too. Like it just broke it. Dude's back in the back, girl, like and he's just walking around. I was like, that was very good. All right, let's see, Gotham Knights, douche canoe. I don't really know if there was one because what's her name? Rebecca March. She didn't really do a whole bunch this episode. I feel like. She armed a bomb and walked away. So, I mean...
Yeah.
Harvey did his own little White Knight justice, which was nice.
She created Two-Face.
That's true.
But is that really douchey, or is that just...
Yeah, just... Because she was fighting for herself. She just grabbed the acid and hit him with it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we skipped that one. Because I don't have anybody. Everybody was their normal heroic self, for the most part.
Yeah.
Superman and Lois. We've got Gretchen, Jordan. Let's see the producers and people who bring in the money for taking away all of our characters next season. Yeah. I mean, Lex kind of for killing Doomsday over and over and over again.
Just in his nature. He actually had Bizarro's.
It's true. Permission. He had his blessing on it. So I want to say
Jordan.
So let's do between Jordan and Rhodey.
I think there's more to Rhodey.
Yeah.
And what's going on. I think Jordan's just a teenager who
just got that teenage angst.
Yeah.
He's ticked off at his ex-girlfriend. So yeah, I'm down with Rhodey. All right, hero of the week, Superman and Lois. Not really a hero. I mean, Jordan didn't really do anything. Jonathan put out a fire. Well, Jonathan put a fire hose up. I mean,
outside of Superman, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's and can't really say the general because nothing else happened.
No, nothing really did anything.
Who knows if we'll see him again?
God, can you imagine they just kill him off? That's it. We don't ever bring that character back. Yeah, just kill him off screen, and that's how I solve that issue. God, I hope not. The whole episode, I was thinking, how do you can't do this to these people? Like, how are you gonna leave these giant cliffhangers on them? Oh, come on, man. Gotham Knights, I would like to propose for the first and last time the entirety of the Knights. Because, I mean, we're never going to see them again.
Minus Turner.
We can do Gotham Knights minus Turner. Because, I mean, the only thing he really did was say, hey, let's not kill Dwell. Let's give her a chance. So, I mean,
which the others would have ended up doing anyway,
Right.
because they're good people.
So
And then Secret Invasion, really wasn't anything.
no, it was one of those plot forward devices on that one.
Yeah,
Not a whole lot of heroism, I would say.
I'm
Well,
good with
the what's her name saying the she wasn't going to fall into the council's plan to make him general of war, but but I'm okay with Gotham Knights if you are for our last time for being
Gotham
heroes.
Knights minus Turner.
Gotham Knights minus Turner for the first and last time are your heroes of the week. Nerdwide podcast approved and official. That is that, and ladies and gentlemen, that is it for our Gotham Knights recaps interview. Unfortunately,
And
so,
it's going to be a long time for Superman and Lois
no,
too.
no, we're gonna fill it in somehow because we got Harley Quinn still to watch. Doom Patrol have not heard anything about, and we've been waiting for it for months now, like
And
months.
we still have coming up new seasons for Invincible and The
Mm-hmm.
Boys.
Well, have you seen that the boys they are not coming back until the writer strike's over? I mean, they're done. They said we're not coming back till the writer strike's over. I'm like, all right, good for you guys. Because I mean, you gotta think though, they make a lot of money for Amazon, so
Yeah,
good for you guys for sticking to it. I mean, sucks for us, for us wanting to watch, for wanting to watch it, but it is what it is.
yeah.
Releases this week, which we will be covering. The animated adventure of My Adventures with Superman launches 7/6. It's on Adult Swim Thursday night, and then you can watch it the next day on HBO Max. Oh, sorry, Max. Got to leave HBO off. Just Max.
Yeah. Leave HBO out of it.
No.
They didn't do it.
Get them out of here. But that's all I've got.
All right, cool. So on to movies. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are good for movies. Sorry, I'm getting the movie review scores docket lined up for me here.
Get it lined up.
There we go.
Did you watch anything else this week?
No, man, it was one of those weird weeks where I didn't do like watch a whole lot of anything or do a whole lot of anything. It was like a whole lot of like my grandfather's birthday was this week, so we went out and ate with him and
Ate your grandfather?
ate your grandfather. It's just a tradition, that's how it works. But no, I didn't really do anything else. What about you? Did you watch anything fun?
Yes, I did.
Ooh, what we got this
But
week?
I don't know why, but I'd been wanting to watch these two. I mean, they're good movies. I've seen them before. But it was one of those things where every day or two I would think, I need to watch those. I need to watch those.
It's one of
For
those.
whatever reason. And there was nothing that prompted it that I can think of. It just got in my head. So the first one I rewatched was Speed, which I don't know if you've seen this.
Is that the
It's
Jack Nichols, not Jack Nicholson.
no, Dennis Hopper, Keanu Reeves,
Keanu
Sandra
Reeves.
Bullock, Jeff Daniels.
I've seen clips. I don't think I've seen it like all the way through.
It's such a good movie. I give it 4 stars. 1994. This is like during the time Sandra Bullock is starting to kind of rise.
Mm-hmm.
It's during the same time frame she makes The Net and Demolition Man.
I've heard about
So
Demolition Man.
it's in that early phase of her career. But premise is that there's a madman he starts off by setting a bomb on an elevator. It severs the initial brakes and the elevator starts to drop with all these people on it. But he doesn't do anything to the e-brake, but it's rigged.
Right.
He tells the LAPD he wants $3 million or he's going to blow it. And Keanu Reeves and Jeff Daniels are SWAT partners. And Keanu Reeves, they do a good job from the get-go of establishing him as one of those guys who thinks outside the box. Jeff Daniels gives him a pop quiz, and he says, pop quiz, you've got a gunman with a hostage, and he's making his way toward a plane. How do you handle it to save the hostage and keep him from getting on the plane? And Reeves waits a few minutes. He goes, "Shoot the hostage."
Well,
And
yep.
he's like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, shoot him in the leg, non-critical injury. Gunman's got to leave him behind, and when he drops him to try and make the plane, you shoot him."
I mean,
And he uses this same problem solving all throughout the movie to come up with ways to, you know, beat Dennis Hopper, because when they foil the elevator gig, Hopper puts a bomb on a bus that Sandra Bullock ends up on, and the bomb triggers when the bus hits 50 miles an hour, and if it drops below 50, it's going to blow up.
mm,
And so probably an hour or more of the movie is them on this bus.
just not hitting 50 or not hitting under 50.
Right, but they're having to deal with LA traffic, they're having to deal
Mm-mm.
with construction, they're having to deal with all
See,
this
I need to
different
watch
stuff.
this movie.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. The other one I watched was I also gave 4 stars to. The other one I rewatched was Death Wish, Charles Bronson,
Mm.
1974. His wife and daughter are attacked in their apartment. Just it's a random attack. He's a successful architect. In the process, his wife is killed. His daughter has like her mind just breaks,
Mm. I mean,
and she's never the same again.
right.
So he's been this anti-violence guy and everything, and he just starts walking through dangerous areas of New York at night with a pistol on him.
Oh,
And
he wants it.
the second somebody comes up to try and mug him, he just guns them down. And the it's a really interesting film. They you get to a point where it's 1974, so I'll go
Yeah.
ahead and talk about the end real quick. The muggings have been cut in half because there's this vigilante out there, and so the muggers don't want to get shot, right? So the city's in this weird position where they have to say, we can't let this guy keep doing this,
Right.
but we kind of want these low numbers of muggings,
It's like
like
that the Green
crime.
Arrow from the
Yeah,
show kind of effect.
yeah. So they tell the police captain, hey, find this guy that we think's doing it, and just tell him he's got to get out of the city. We're not going to arrest him. We're not going to bring him to justice. Just he needs to leave, and people will still think he's out there.
Right.
So this eventually happens, and he ends up transferring to Chicago because his firm has offices all over. And as he's standing in the airport, these guys just come up and they take this woman's bags and they just start kind of like emptying them out and throwing stuff everywhere and everything. And he goes over and helps her pick up her stuff, and they're laughing and pointing and everything, and he just looks at them, and he makes a gun with his hand, and he does like this,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the end of the film. So
Mm.
that's great because it's like, okay, I'm gonna be doing here now what I was
Right.
doing.
We're just new city, new me.
Yeah.
Well, same me. New city, same me.
So couple really good ones. I think you'd love Speed though.
Yeah, that's from what I've always heard about it. I would. I just never. It's like the same thing with John Wick movies. I've just never gotten around to watching them, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's just how it is.
Why are you always putting Keanu Reeves in movies off, man?
We're
Why?
not going to talk about it. It's
Oh,
nothing
okay.
against him. It's just how it is. Unfortunately.
Just works out that
All
way.
right.
All right, our movie of the week, Thor. Um, I'm gonna go through the synopsis real quick, or the plot. I'm gonna say up front, I gave this 4.5 stars.
Oh,
It's always been one of my favorites. So,
I went with what I've always had in Letterboxd, and my mind has changed since then. But in Letterboxd, I've got it as a 2.5 stars. But
ooh,
yeah, I'm more so like a 3.5.
ooh,
Um, because it sets up a lot and it's very, very good. I think originally why I gave it that score was because the ending, like the set, was just not that good. like out in the middle of New Mexico. It's just one street or two streets, and I feel like they could have done a lot better of like a city building than what they had. But
Yeah.
but I thought it was great. Like the all the Easter eggs, which we'll talk about here in a minute as well, were very cool. Hawkeye's introduction we get in this movie.
Mhm.
I think my favorite scene is still him fighting through everybody to get to his hammer and finding out he's not worthy anymore. It's probably my favorite scene here.
Yeah. I'll run through this and then we'll talk some more on the other side. In 965 AD, Odin, king of Asgard, wages war against the frost giants of Jotunheim and their leader Laufey. Is it Laufey?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Laufey. To prevent them from conquering the nine realms, starting with Earth. The Asgardian warriors defeat the frost giants in Tonsberg, Norway, and seize the source of their power, the Casket of Ancient Winters. Um, In the present, Odin's son Thor prepares to ascend to the throne of Asgard, but is interrupted when frost giants, secretly allowed in by his brother Loki, attempt to retrieve the casket. Against Odin's order, Thor travels to Jotunheim to confront Loki, accompanied by Loki, childhood friend Sif, and the warriors three, Volstagg, Fandral, and Hogun. A battle ensues until Odin intervenes to save the Asgardians, destroying the fragile truce between the two races. For Thor's arrogance, Odin strips his son of his godly power and exiles him to Earth as a mortal, accompanied by his hammer, Mjolnir, now protected by an enchantment that allows only the worthy to wield it. Thor lands in New Mexico, where astrophysicist Dr. Jane Foster, her assistant Darcy Lewis, and mentor Dr. Eric Selvig find him. The local populace finds Mjolnir, which SHIELD agent Phil Coulson soon commandeers before forcibly acquiring Foster's data about the wormhole that delivered Thor to Earth. Thor, having discovered Mjolnir's nearby location, seeks to retrieve it from the facility that SHIELD has constructed, but he finds himself unable to lift it and is captured. With Selvig's help, he's freed and resigns himself to exile on Earth as he develops a romance with Foster. Loki discovers he's Laufey's biological son, adopted by Odin after the war ended. Loki confronts Odin, who wearily falls into the deep Odin sleep to recover his strength. Loki takes the throne in Odin's stead and offers Laufey the chance to kill Odin and retrieve the casket. Sif and the Warriors Three, unhappy with Loki's rule, attempt to return Thor from exile, convincing Heimdall, gatekeeper of the Bifrost, the means of traveling between worlds, to allow them passage to Earth. Aware of their plan, Loki sends the Destroyer, a seemingly indestructible automaton, to pursue them and kill Thor. The warriors find Thor, but the Destroyer attacks and defeats them, prompting Thor to offer himself instead. Struck by the Destroyer and near death, Thor proves himself worthy by his sacrifice to wield Mjolnir. The hammer returns to him, restoring his powers and enabling him to defeat the Destroyer. Kissing Foster goodbye and vowing to return, he leaves with his fellow Asgardians to confront Loki. In Asgard, Loki betrays and kills Laufey. Thor arrives, and Loki reveals his plan to destroy Jotunheim with the Bifrost Bridge.
Mm.
Thor fights Loki before destroying the Bifrost Bridge to stop Loki's plan, stranding himself in Asgard. Odin awakens and prevents the brothers from falling into the abyss created in the wake of the bridge's destruction, but Loki allows himself to fall when Odin rejects his pleas for approval. Loki ends up falling into a wormhole and arrives at Earth. Thor makes amends with Odin, admitting he's not ready to be king. Meanwhile, on Earth, Foster and her team search for a way to open a portal to Asgard. In a post-credits scene, Selvig is taken to a SHIELD facility where Nick Fury opens a briefcase and asks him to study a mysterious cube-shaped object, which Fury says may hold untold power. An invisible Loki prompts Selvig to agree.
One of my favorite post-credit scenes.
Yeah.
Just because this was the one. This was the one right before. No, so it was this one, and then Captain America, and then the Avengers. In the present day release schedule, it was Thor, then Captain America, and then the Avengers. So
yeah,
setting it all up, baby, all connected.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I most like about this is, yeah, I think it still represents the best balance between humor and action
Mm-hmm.
in the MCU. This is kind of what they tried to keep going. And as Chris Hemsworth has stated
Mm-hmm.
recently, they got too jokey with it in the last Thor movie, and so they're going to try and find maybe it takes bringing Kenneth Branagh back as director,
That's a good point.
um, because this had a good balance of that. You
Yeah.
had action, you had drama, but you still had some humor. Um, it's very strange to rewatch this because we've gotten so used to how Chris Hemsworth
Mm-hmm.
looks now.
How much different he is. Yeah, it's something like same thing with Natalie Portman, um,
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston. I mean, he's a classic example, and we're about to get more of him later this year. I can't wait. So, I mean, it's still a good film. Like when he essentially dies and grabs the hammer again for the first time, and all his armor clinks together. Oh, it was perfect. I loved it. I missed the Zachary Levi as part of the Warriors 3. That didn't last long. Lasted one movie, and they recast. But a couple of Easter eggs for you. The very beginning of the film, we see a Norwegian village called Tornsberg in Norway, 965 AD. It is the same Tornsberg, Norway, that was in the very beginning of Captain America. Odin's eye, we see him losing his eye in the battle against the Frost Giant. Then we see the Eternal Flame, Odin's treasure vault, and it's a treasure trove of Easter eggs, including the Eternal Flame, a mystical object that would go on to become a key item in Thor Ragnarok. Thor's helmet, we see it's one of the only times that he wears his traditional trademark helmet from the comics. In that treasure room, we see the tuning fork, an object used by his guardians and the source material to summon the lurking unknown into their dimension. We also see the tablet of life and time, which contains the formula for the lifeline formula, which can heal and rejuvenate anyone and even make them immortal. Which a lot of this we never see again, by the way. The
Right.
Warlock's Eye, a mind-controlling item from the pages of Thor comics. We see Odin's ravens. If you pay attention to Odin's throne, so you can see Hugin and Munin on either side of his throne. The Infinity Gauntlet, which that comes up again. We later find out it's a fake and should be a dead giveaway with the right hand gauntlet. Michael Straczynski, Stan Lee isn't the only comic book writer to appear in the film, as scribe J. Michael Straczynski can also be seen in the film. Straczynski previously wrote Thor from 2007 to 2009 for Marvel and has a story by credit on the film. He's one of the ones trying to lift the hammer up. One of the writings.
Stan Lee's cameo is great.
Yeah, it breaks the truck and he looks back behind him and everything. Yeah,
did it work?
It's so good. The city that much of Thor takes place is called Puente Antiguo, New Mexico, which translates to Old Bridge, which is a reference to the Bifrost. Journey into Mystery is seen on a billboard. We talked about Stan Lee's. Donald Blake, back in the early days when Thor was a traditional superhero, not the actual god of thunder, his secret identity was Dr. Donald Blake, which is referenced here. Let's see. We see the Tesseract in one of the books. Hawkeye is introduced here. Yggdrasil is explained here. Walt Simonson. Walt Simonson is the comic book creator who's arguably had the biggest influence on Thor comics ever. Makes a comics appearance in the film during the feast. We see the Avengers teaser at the end. We see Cronin, a member of the rock humanoid species. The Cronin appears in the film and is quickly dispatched by Thor, which of course we know those people from Thor Ragnarok. Eric Silvick's chalkboard. It's got a bunch of different things on there. It's got the 616 universe, the Fault, the Crossroads, Nexus of All Realities, and Simonson's Theory of Relativity. Oh wait, no, sorry. Whoa. I just immediately went to Thor Dark World. Okay, that's on me. I was gonna say this stuff didn't happen. So that's your Easter egg from Thor, the first one. So that's about all I've got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so next week we're going to do the Avengers, and we're going to do Iron Man 3.
We can skip it. We can skip Iron Man 3 if you want to.
No, we can't. No, we got to be thorough.
Get that trash bag on fire. So
it's your favorite Christmas movie.
Well, the favorite Christmas movie. Still don't like it. It's the worst Iron Man movie.
Notable releases this week. This is one of Tyler's favorites. In
Mm-hmm.
cinemas, July 7th, Insidious: Fear of the Dark is going to come out.
Pass.
Maybe we'll do the Insidious movies one
So,
year for the.
I don't know about that because isn't it like the scientifically proven to be the most scary movie ever made? Insidious.
Maybe.
Like I think it's on record to be the most horrifying
I
movie. And
don't know how you scientifically prove that, 'cause
yeah, I've got AFib, so I don't know if I can
it's
watch
a,
that one.
it's
And
it's a judgment that people would make. I don't know. I So we don't have anything for your next category,
Mhm.
games. I do want to touch on one thing though.
What you got?
Um, so there's a group called the Brander Group that deals in athlete brands and likenesses, and they've been trying to hook up with a lot of these college athletes. And what they did is they took EA to court, and they wanted a cease and desist put in place that would keep them from contacting college football athletes in advance of getting their game out this next year, the college football game,
Hmm.
which they're thankfully bringing back. And it broke, I think it was yesterday or the day before, news broke that Brander, uh, their their request was dismissed by the court. So EA is good to go ahead and continue on.
Good.
So a little bit of game news.
I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that game.
It's I always preferred the NCAA game
Hmm.
to Madden.
I'm ready for it. Like I can't wait to finally have Vanderbilt in the championship. So
If you can do that, you've accomplished something.
that's what I'm
So,
doing. I live through my dreams through video games. That's how I've always done it. That's how I continue to do it, even with my sports teams. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening and or watching this show. We finally finished off our Gotham Knights and Superman and Lois season 3. One of which was a very, 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 very good season. The other which was, Gotham Knights. And so, unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever talk about that show again. Let us know down below if you think it nailed the landing. I think the finale was pretty good and decent. And I think they could have done, like Chris and I were talking about at the beginning of when we were talking about it, I think they could have gone a couple of good places from this. But, honestly, we'll never know. Maybe we can ask them because these actors and actresses are going to go to these cons, and we could always
yeah,
ask them there. Okay, and
if we ever get any back.
if we
I
ever
mean,
get him back, 'cause good lord, I don't want to go out of state to go to a con anymore. All right,
right.
but it looks like we're Atlanta, probably the closest one, or Louisville. But anyways, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Nerdwide podcast. Don't forget to share in all your favorite social media platforms, and don't forget to rate and review on your podcasting apps and services as well. On social media, you can follow the Nerdwide account on Twitter at nerd_wide. You can follow me personally at Ty_Haynes. And you can follow Chris at MavTN7. On Facebook, just search in Nerdwide Podcast, nerdwide.com, or just Nerdwide. The first thing that pops up every single time. If you follow us on either one of those social media platforms, that's where you get the first news of, if anything happens to the show, delays, and kind of that. That's where you go for those bit of news. But as always, this has been this week's episode of the Nerdwide Podcast, and we cannot wait to talk to you about My Adventures with Superman next week. I'm actually pretty excited about that one, especially coming off of Invincible. And this is with Jack Quaid as Superman, so I'm all in. But next week we'll talk about it, and we can talk about the Avengers and probably the worst MCU movie. So we'll talk to you then.
Later, guys.